get started, I'm put on the recorder, and welcome everyone to the deep dive into the Manual for Teachers of A Course in Miracles. And we do this every Thursday evening, and people are all encouraged to speak up and unmute your mic and share. We read the text together, and then we talk about what does it mean. And did anybody have anything from last week that you wanted to share? Maybe experiences after we last week we were talking about the function of the teacher of God, and remember that you know what our purpose here is to be healers and to heal the world, heal ourselves and heal our brothers, and reminding people of who they really are. And I don't know if anybody had anything they want to talk about now that maybe you might have experienced after last week. But
I do have a question from last week, because I remember Dove saying, I'll have to wait because my phone's going to be ringing in the background until it's picked up.
I guess so. Okay, go ahead. Oh, she's still on mute.
So go ahead.
He's muting. Yeah.
So Dove said the first thing that we need to know in healing is what the purpose of sickness is. And I'm really not clear on what it is. He said there were 3 steps, and the first one is to know the purpose.
Okay, I'll say a couple of words on it. Basically, on page 17, which is the first page of the 3 steps, he says, listen, unless you want to know the purpose, the perceived purpose of sickness, you cannot be healed. And when you read it, he basically is saying that we want to get sick. In other words, we want to literally deny our Father his position. We will get sick and we'll take care of ourselves. I don't need you, Father. You know, so we are usurping the authority. It's really an authority problem. So we do it to ourselves, and then we moan the blues. We kind of complain, you know, like I'm unfairly treated. I'm a victim. I'm weak. You didn't give me the strength. And all of that is the exact opposite. You are the kingdom. You are the kingdom. And we threw the idea of the kingdom away by throwing peace away. We didn't want the peace. Peace is the key to the kingdom. So, you know, to bring the peace back, you have to deny the denial of peace. We have denied the truth. The last unanswered question, I heard Ken Wapnick talking about it today. You have to negate the denial of truth. That's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness looks and sees that the denial never happened. But if you live in denial, then basically the mind is sick. It's the mind that believes that you can deny the truth. And in truth, you cannot deny the truth. Your identity is changeless. You cannot change who you are. What God creates is changeless. But you can believe it, and the belief is very powerful, because you're putting the mind of God's Son to believe that he can change himself. You can't change yourself. You are as God created. I am not this body. I am still, I am free. I'm exactly as God created me, you know. So that's what accepting the atonement is. Accepting the atonement is correcting your mind. That's all it is. It's saying what you think is true is not true. What you think is true is not true. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you. So we get sick. We choose to be sick to prove God's wrong.
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
to-
but basically, yes, and I'll go a level deeper. We do it to deny our father the joy of his son. It's like you didn't make me special. I'll make myself special, and
Mm,
I don't want you to have the joy of uh, knowing what you created. I'll make myself sick and complain.
okay.
It's a joke, actually. As long as you're laughing at it, you aren't believing in it. If you take any of it seriously, you're still believing in it. It's really a joke.
So, so
A joke that we set out to deceive, and the only one that got deceived is us. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
and so I also, it's noticing the ways that you keep yourself sick. And that's a huge part of it for me is, the reason I want to be sick, I don't even want to go into, I want to be special. Even though in the world, if you are sick, you want people to take care of you, pay attention to you. You get a lot of perks in the body in the world. If you're sick, people get a lot of attention for being sick. It makes you feel special when you're sick, and that's being sick in the body. And I'm not saying that, everybody who's sick in the body are there because they want people to pay attention to them, but it is a result that happens when you're sick. So that you get cancer, and everybody's like, oh my God, we'll pray for you, sending you blessings. Can I bring you a basket of fruit, or whatever it is they do? But but also in what we're the really wanting to be sick is really just wanting to have it our own way, have our own, you know have our life the way we, even if it's painful, and even if it's hard and we have a lot of problems, they're still my problems. I'm still the one in charge. And that's, if I could just stop wanting to be the one in charge and let God be in charge, then I wouldn't want to be sick anymore. I wouldn't want to be alone anymore. I wouldn't want to be on my own anymore. I want, you know, I want the person who really loves me to take care of me. So, but you have to give up that need or desire to do it on your own. And Amy, did you have something to say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I also feel like from what it's saying here that it's the ego's way of keeping us separate from God, by not believing that he can take care of us. And also that it points to me again the fact that we're most afraid of our own light. And if we're to believe this, then we have to believe that we have the power inside of us, and that the decision is up to us. And the ego doesn't really want us to take on that responsibility and see that we have the light inside of us of God, and that the ego would prefer for us to think, poor me, and I'm separate and I'm not part of God. And I think it's the ego's game, I guess.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, thank you. Good insight, everyone. Anybody else have any thoughts? And welcome, Regis. Well, I guess we'll just go ahead and get started then. Let's go look at our text for the evening, and we are in the Manual for Teachers, section 6, which is called "Is Healing Certain?" And I think, again, there's some really surprising stuff in this section, and I think it's going to be really helpful for us to go through it. So who would like to read paragraph 1? just start reading if,
I can
I
read.
can read.
Oh,
all right.
I'll read the first one.
Okay.
Healing is certain. It is impossible to let illusions be brought to truth and keep the illusions. Truth demonstrates illusions have no value. The teacher of God has seen the correction of his errors in the mind of the patient, recognizing it for what it is. Having accepted the atonement for himself, he has also accepted it for the patient. Yet, what if the patient uses sickness as a way of life, believing healing is the way to death? When this is so, a sudden healing might precipitate intense depression and a sense of loss so deep that the patient might even try to destroy himself. Having nothing to live for, he may ask for death. Healing must wait for his protection.
Holy cow.
Mm.
Quite a way to start off the section.
It sounds a little bit like what I was saying earlier, which I'm saying is terrible. Number 6, what if the patient uses sickness as a way of life, believing healing is the way to death? So I was saying that my husband was talking about death sometimes, but at the same time he was happy and he was, coming to understand a lot of things. And we had today a really good day, and then I had that little that little leftover concern that what if, that wondering whether or not he might be preparing a death or something. And thank you, Dov, for the realization that there is, again, the reminder that there is no death really, and that it's not true. So this paragraph is really making it bigger, the illusion for me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Corinne.
Thank you, Corinne.
Any other thoughts? Oh, man, this is crazy. I mean, to me, when I read this, he is talking about a person who is absolutely insane, that is so afraid of healing that they want to die because it gives them nothing to live for anymore. I mean, that's kind of what this is saying to me. I don't know what anybody else thinks. Does anybody else have any thoughts?
Yeah. I understand what he's saying from the point of view of what is your purpose in life. If your purpose is to get well, if your purpose is to heal your mind, you really think that God's son needs saving. Like somehow, if I do this course, and I know everything that Jesus is saying, I'm going to finally one day get well. Well, this can go on for years and years and years. And he tells you that. Wellness or healing comes when you realize that God's son is saved. That is what he says in chapter 11, section 6, awakening to your redemption. We're really afraid of the redemption because at least when I'm trying to get well, I go to doctors, I read books, I go to workshops. It's always somehow I'm going to get better. At that level, sooner or later, you realize that this is like a never-ending battle, and what do I need this for? I might as well just check out. No, you have to turn it around and see that God's son has always been saved. There's never been a time that God's son has been sick, and never. Amy, go ahead.
Yeah, at the beginning of the paragraph, then it actually is saying that The teacher of God has seen the correction of his errors in the mind of the patient, recognizing for what it is, and having accepted atonement for himself, he's also accepted it for the patient. Then wouldn't that mean if the patient is not one of these people who thinks that it may cause him death, that we are actually helping their healing along then, right?
Yeah, by not judging that this patient needs help, that this patient needs saving, that's how you accept the atonement for the patient. You realize that the patient is the Christ. I mean, there is no patient. There's only one. I mean, how many teachers does it take to save the world? There's only one.
Yeah, and I think when people, if you identify yourself with your sickness, and that could be anything. I identify myself with my poverty. I identify myself with my, lack of, understanding or education, or, I identify myself with something that's small and lacking. And if all of a sudden I was no longer saw myself in those constraints, then I wouldn't even know what to do with myself. If all of a sudden I had think about it. If all of a sudden you had nothing health-wise, nothing money, nothing in the world stopping you, or making you feel like you can't do what you want to do, that you can't do, whatever it is, then what's your excuse? You don't have an excuse anymore for not doing what it is that you think you should be doing or could be doing. And without that, uh, I think people would just come up with another excuse for why they can't do it. I think it'd be so threatening that they wouldn't know what to do with themselves. I don't know. I just see it because people's identity is so strong. So if, for instance, you had a person and their whole identity was based on the fact that they had a disease, and then maybe everybody treated them a certain way. They had certain relationships in life. All these different things were set up for a person who was very sick. And then what if that person got very well all of a sudden? Then all the support systems, everything everybody was doing for them, all the things, they would have no purpose either. There'd be no purpose for the support of our sickness if we were suddenly healthy. And I think people would become disoriented and afraid, and they would just figure out another way to get sick. I think that may be what Jesus is saying here. You can help correct your brother's mind through your own thinking, but he has to be ready and willing to accept that. And Corinne, you had your hand up?
Yeah, while you were talking, what I was thinking about was that all of these things are mostly things of the body. And so a real healing is really of the mind. And so if it's just the concerns about the body, then we're still not healed. Because if you're really healed, then all of these things, just you don't have any more concerns about the body things anymore. I mean, and the fact that people are, you don't know what to do or whatever, that means you're not healed yet. If you still have questions and concerns about that, that's what came to me.
Yes, that's very true, Corinne. As long as you identify with the body, healing is impossible. And I see people who have done the course and they still, they actually think the sickness is in the body. And of course, they'll go to doctors and they get medicine. They'll take the medicine, and as long as you think it's in the body, you think it's in form. So you might heal one form, but it'll just transfer to another form. So it'll be something else, something that's in the world that you keep on trying to fix. You either recognize that God's son doesn't need to be fixed. He doesn't need to be saved. He is saved. God saved him the instant he thought that he could become special. He said, no, no, your identity is changeless. You cannot change who you are. You cannot change who you are. You are the Son of God. And the Son of God is sanctified.
Amy, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, sentence 3 is the power sentence here. Truth demonstrates illusions have no value. And isn't that the truth? I mean, the truth is that the light of God is inside of all of us, and that is our actual truth, and everything else is an illusion, which has no value. I love that line.
And truth here is content. Illusions are form. Forms are always changing. Illusions are always changing. Content is always the same. Content is love. Love is oneness. Love is awareness. Awareness, oneness, equality, sameness. Illusions are inequality, differences, specialness. As long as you identify with anything in this world, you're identifying with something that doesn't really exist in reality.
Yeah, I was thinking there is a line somewhere in the course, and Dove, you probably know where it is, where he says that the Holy Spirit, that you would never suddenly become enlightened, or God would never, suddenly, even though we pray for it, please, enlighten me or wake me up or whatever, he would never do that to us, because it would terrify us. We would be so frightened by it. And I can't remember exactly what it is.
I think the key word there is oblivion. Do not worry, you will not be thrown into oblivion. If you look up oblivion and in your search, you'll find the place. There's not too many places he talks about oblivion.
Okay. Yeah. And that's, but I think he's saying kind of the same thing as he's saying right here, that a person couldn't just suddenly be healed without having some kind of a major difficulty with their, they wouldn't be able to accept it. Let me go look that up. There we go. Are you guys still seeing the
chapter
text?
13, section 4?
Okay, awesome, Dove. Because all this stuff is in the way here. Okay, read ACIM. I don't know if you guys are seeing. Are you still seeing the text I put in the room?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not seeing me looking at all this stuff.
No.
Okay.
But I'm remembering what you're talking about, where the Holy Spirit would do nothing that would increase our fear. And if that would increase fear, having it all of a sudden, that big shift, that's not going to happen.
Yes.
In our best interest.
And I think that's what this paragraph is saying, is that you can wake your brother up. Healing can, people may ask you to help with healing, and you may heal them, but you can't, even if they are even if they are healed, they may not be actually ready to do it, and they might not be able to accept it, and and they would just have to run into another place, I'm not finding that. Maybe because I'm not spelling it correctly.
I'm looking and I can't find it either. If I find it, I'll show it to you.
Okay. All right.
I didn't know if you all can hear me or not.
I think also what it's saying is that not every patient is in that situation.
Yeah.
It says if the patient uses sickness as a way of life. I mean, some people can just awaken to to the reality and are ready to be healed. Whereas some people are clinging to their sickness and holding on to it. So I think it's an individual thing as well. That's what it's saying.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Regis, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, I didn't know if y'all could hear me or not.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay. Well, yeah, Lynn, I was going to say that you had reminded me of several things earlier when you was talking. But when you was talking about our investment in identification with that sickness or illness, and I remember years ago, I made my sister really mad because she had been in a car accident, and she was, you know, really Pentecostal and evangelical in her faith and about healing and, you know, and God healing and all of this. So we were talking one day, and so she was talking about a lawsuit for the car accident. So I asked her, I said, well, do you want to be healed or do you want to sue because you're crippled now? You know, so which one? You know, because if you walk into court well, you won't get a check. You know, so which one? So
That's a good point, Regis.
So she really got angry, and people don't. And like you said, we were just saying, the shock of that initial healing, we don't know what to do because we based everything on that healing. We based our whole idea of ourselves, our future, which ain't real in the first place, but we based it all on this condition. And you reminded me of the guy at the well who had been at the well for like 30 years. And he was so shocked when Jesus, first of all, when Jesus came, you knew he was Jesus. You knew what he had the power to do. And when Jesus asked him, what did he want? He didn't say, I want to be healed. He started talking about his story and how long he'd been coming to the well, but he could never get in. So Jesus essentially, in our today's term, just said, shut up, take up your bed and walk. You know, it's like, because he'd identified with that story so long that when the healer showed up in person, in body, and you're like, yeah, heal me right now. Let me see. Open my eyes. You know, he goes into a long story. So, and then when you look at some of the Bible stories of Jesus healing, like the lepers, the 10 lepers, he didn't heal them instantly. They actually, he told them to go back to king or priest, which was a several days journey. By the time they got, leprosy had cleared up, but their leprosy wasn't cleared up instantly. And so we really have to, but when the mind is healed, that's why we stop looking at the body. When we think about the mind, if my mind is healed, I don't know what my body is doing. That's why we look at people who have gotten their legs blown off in war or have had other incidents or was born with ways where they are handicapped, but they go on with life. They become musicians, they become motivational speakers, they go to Olympics and participate in all type of sports. They're not concerned about, we look at them as handicapped. They're not even looking at themselves as handicapped. We're projecting our story on them. We're projecting our feelings of how we would feel if we were in that condition. But they have gone on with their life. They don't even want you to pity them or anything. They feel like life is great. I'm blessed. You know, they have no longer identified with that condition. It's just them identifying with that condition. But they have allowed their mind to be completely healed, and they are living a total fulfilled life, because the purpose of the course is peace. The course is about the quality of life. It's about joy. It's about happiness. It's about peace. And they have a full, complete, happy life. And we looking at them, imagining how depressed we would be if we were in that condition.
Yeah, you're right about that, Regis. Yeah. I did find that quote, and Dove, it wasn't oblivion, it was reality that Jesus talks about. And he says, and now, let's see. Oh, and maybe you posted the same thing.
No. You actually found the thing that we were both talking about. You're right. It's in text chapter 16, section 6, paragraph 8. That's the one that we were both referring to. But the one I found in chapter 4 is also very, very close to what we're talking about here. He's saying that the ego wants to send you into oblivion. That you've been told that you have a role in heaven of creating, and the ego is saying, no, you have no role at all in heaven. Your role is fixing things here on earth, and when you get to heaven, you're going to be gone. You're going to have no role at all. So the ego is telling you, I'm going to send you into oblivion if you don't do the things I tell you to do. And if you really resist, I'm going to send you to hell. That's exactly what it says in chapter, what was it? Chapter 13, section 4. He said, now the reason why you're afraid of this course should be apparent. But this is a course on love because it's about you. You've been told that your function in this world is healing and your function in heaven is creating. The ego teaches you your function on earth is destruction, and you have no function at all in heaven. It would thus destroy you. It would thus destroy you here, bury you here, leaving you no inheritance except the dust out of which it thinks you were made. And as long as it's reasonably satisfied with you, as this reasoning goes, it offers you oblivion. When it becomes overtly savage, it offers you hell.
Yeah. That's exactly, I think, what that paragraph is talking about. That's why we're so afraid of healing. And of course, the other paragraph that I had found was where he says, fear not that you would be abruptly lifted up and hurled into reality. Time is kind, and if you use it on behalf of reality, it will keep gentle pace with you in your transition. And so what he's talking about in this paragraph is, you can, through healing your own mind, heal the minds of your brothers, the patient, he calls it. But, even if he was healed, if he didn't recognize it, he still wouldn't see himself as being healed no matter what. But we're not going to just suddenly heal people or heal ourselves, because that would be pretty scary for most of us, even if we think we would really want it.
That's also what Regis was actually saying. The Course is talking about the quality of life, that heaven is a joyous place. Heaven is a place of peace, light, and love, of oneness, of joy, serenity, tranquility. I'm resting in God. I mean, when it says I rest in God, lesson 109, that's the only place you can possibly be. You can't be anywhere else.
Yeah, and I liked Regis's examples too. But yeah, it is a choice at any moment, I guess. Not I guess, that's what Jesus says. So, but it might have to wait for some people because they're just not ready for it. And we shouldn't become frustrated or feel like our efforts in healing, which is what we're here for. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Our efforts in healing may not make apparent. We might not see the results of it. And we might get impatient and think, why isn't this working? But he's saying it is working. You just can't really know it. You can't really see it right now. So why don't we go on to the next paragraph and see if we get more information or insight. Who wants to read paragraph 2? Amy, please go ahead.
Healing will always stand aside when it would be seen as threat. The instant it is welcome, it is there. Where healing has been given, it will be received. And what is time before the gifts of God? We have referred many times in the text to the storehouse of treasures laid up equally for the giver and the receiver of God's gifts. Not one is lost, for they can but increase. No teacher of God should feel disappointed if he has offered healing and it does not appear to have been received. It is not up to him to judge when his gifts should be accepted. Let him be certain it has been received and trust that it will be accepted when it is recognized as a blessing and not a curse. So this is referring back to the fact that some people are just not ready. Some people are just not ready to accept, and it could even frighten them or make them feel that their life is over. I think, as Dove said, like there's nothing here for them if they're not sick, and they're not ready to accept it. And so as a teacher of God, it's up to us only to offer the blessing of seeing that for them, and that at some point in the future, when they're ready, when it's not going to scare them, when it's not going to frighten them to death, and they're ready to accept it, that it will be there for them. And also, I feel like by giving and receiving, by offering them that, we're actually helping to heal ourselves as well. Because when we offer that to them, we're also accepting it for ourselves. And just reinforcing in our own, as a teacher of God, that what we teach is strengthened inside of us as well. And that it's not necessary for the outcome to be seen immediately. The fact that we have offered it is what extending God's love is about. Thank you.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. It's almost like the vaccines. You can offer someone a vaccine and say, no, I'm not ready to take it, but you have to allow them to go through whatever it is they go through until they can choose it.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And I think when you're reading that, Amy, I was thinking about, sometimes people are just healed. Something shifts in them. I've had it happen to me before, where I don't remember having done anything or made any kind of effort or done anything, and it's just suddenly, I'll come to a clear understanding, or I'll come to an actual healing in my mind of something. And I never thought, maybe this is the result of, someone else's love for me, someone else's wanting for me to be healed. And it's been here all along, and I just never saw it before. And, now it's here. Or kind of spontaneous healings that happen, where people, for absolutely no reason that we can know, suddenly have, whatever disease they had is gone, whatever mind fog they had is gone. Something shifts in them spontaneously, it seems like, but it sounds like it may be the result of, loving, help that people have been giving each other. And, you're just now ready to receive it. You're capable now of receiving it, and it's been there the whole time. Because it doesn't go away. It's always there. We just can't see it. And
Yeah. It reminds me of where it says that we think that by putting bits of glass in front of our eyes and putting a liquid in a sharp object and inserting it into ourselves that we will be healed, which is obviously not the truth. Only the light of God is going to actually heal us. Thanks.
Whenever he talks about form, like you put needle in an arm, or you put a piece of glass in front of your eyes. The body cannot be healed. The body is a neutral thing. In coarse language, the body doesn't even exist. So when we treat the body, we're looking at the effect. The cause is the mind. All healing takes place at the level of cause. At the level of cause, that's the level of source.
Yeah, and even the Regis was talking about the guy at the well, which has always been a story that's fascinated me as well, because he'd been there for 30 years, laying there being waiting for the wind to blow or whatever it was, the special thing that was supposed to happen, and what life did he have to go back to after that? Did he have a wife and kids somewhere, or had he, for 30 years he'd been there? That might have not been a very good thing for him to suddenly be healed and lose the only paying gig he had, possibly. I'm just kidding, but he may not have, people may not know what to do if they suddenly were healed, or suddenly all their problems, like I was saying, if suddenly all your problems were solved. What would you do with yourself? How would you live if the only way you know how to live is as a sick person who has problems? Just something to think about. And welcome, Amy.
Welcome, Amy. Yes.
Another Amy. That's cool. All right. Two Amy's. Anybody else have any thoughts about this? I know for myself, whenever you pray for somebody, you're praying for someone to be healed or for their problem to be solved or whatever. It always seems frustrating to me because, where are the results? But Jesus is saying they're there. They're not being recognized right now. So that's what I'm getting from this.
And also, this body is our trump card. You may can convince me that this not real, that that's not real, that the other's not real. But hey, I got this sickness and I know it's real. It's my body. My arm is broke. You try to tell me that's not real, So it's like, but I think it's on a subconscious level. I think it's like, it's this unconscious part of our ego that has to be healed so that we can see our investment in the state that we have in this sickness. And that's when the mind is healed. When we realize I don't need this investment anymore, I'm okay. I don't have to identify with this no more. I'm okay knowing that, God is, knowing that I am, so I don't have to identify with this anymore. But that body is our trump card. When we, even as course students, as ACIM students, we can keep our right-mindedness in a lot of things. But when we break our leg, when we have stuff that's going on in our body, we have to do a little extra work to move beyond that, to come back into a right mind about that. And sometimes it's a process and takes a little while. And most of the time, our mind, if we really look at it, our mind is healed before our body is healed. It's not like, again, I always like to say, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Sometimes we get confused and it's a hard question to answer, but we can rest assured from studying the course, our mind is where the work is done, is where the healing takes place. And we can know that in a surety from studying the course.
Very well said, Regis. Thanks.
And welcome, Jan. Good to have you with us.
Hi, everyone.
All right, we're just in is healing certain part of the manual for teachers. So does anybody else have any comments on paragraph 2?
I do. Yeah, I do. I would just say as well that this reminds me of David Hawkins' book, Letting Go, where he realizes that as much as he's been teaching about letting go and having it heal people, that he's still wearing glasses. And when one of the students pointed it out to him, he realized, oh, that's true. And he stopped wearing his glasses then for the rest of his life, and said that there was forgiveness. His book is basically saying letting go is forgiving, right? So that he did the forgiveness work and he never wore his glasses again. And that's a healing of the mind, not the eyes. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I remember when Ken Wapnick went and had laser surgery on his eyes, and everybody thought he had a miraculous healing. He was like, yeah, it was because he used to wear very thick glasses before that. But, you know, healing is of the mind and not of the body. So, you know, if Dr. Hawkins could take off his glasses and get along well and pass his driving test, you know, I'm happy for him. That's above my pay grade, I think. Anybody? Okay, let's look at paragraph 3. Would anybody like to read paragraph 3? Okay, I'll read it. Unless somebody had their hand up. I didn't notice. Okay, so it is not the function of God's teachers to evaluate the outcome of their gifts. It is merely their function to give them. So, you know, no worrying about how you receive it or if it's good for you or whatever. I'm just supposed to give it. That's it. And not wait for the thank you card later. So he says, once they have done that, they have also given the outcome, for that is part of the gift. No one can give if he is concerned with the result of giving. That is a limitation on the giving itself, and neither the giver nor the receiver would have the gift. Trust is an essential part of giving. In fact, it is the part that makes sharing possible, the part that guarantees the giver will not lose but only gain. Who gives a gift and then remains with it to be sure it is used as the giver deems appropriate? Such is not giving, but imprisoning. And boy, oh boy, do I ever know about that. I mean, how many times, even things in the world that we give to people. And, you know, I gave you that lamp for your bedroom. Why is it sitting out here in the garage? Or, you know, I gave you that picture to hang up on your front room wall. And, you know, why is it in the basement? You know, if you actually give it, then you can't be concerned with what people do with it. And it does remind me of a story of a person that I know who's a spiritual teacher, and they got money through donations. And people, you know, pretty much lived off donations from other people. And one day I went over to their house and they said, well, you know, we have to leave by a certain time because the housekeeper is coming in. And I was like, you have a housekeeper? You're paying somebody to clean your house? Well, yeah, you know, of course I do have a housekeeper. And I was thinking, people are giving you money to live on, and you're spending it paying to have your house cleaned. You know, that's a, you know, not a very good way of using these donations. And I had to look at myself and look at the thoughts that were in my mind about really, you know, my perception that, you know, if I give you a gift, you know, and, you know, I don't have a lot of money. So, you know, and I can't afford a housekeeper, you know, why would I, why would you, you know, do that? I had to really look at, you know, my own thinking about, you know, what was the purpose of the gift? The purpose of the gift is to do whatever you want with it, and whatever is most helpful to you.
Yeah.
And it's none of my business what you do with the gift I give you. And you know, it really that had some real meaning to me, and still does. Because people give me donations now, and I'm looking at how I'm using those donations, and I'm like, I best live up to my, my own standard here, and make sure I'm, using this for the things that, are really helpful, and not to go out and buy ice cream or hire a housekeeper. That's just a judgment on my part. That's, I think I used to be a nun in a past life, so that's why I have so much judgment about that stuff. Anyway,
Amy?
anyone else?
Amy, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm sure that the house cleaner was very appreciative of having the work.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Notice what today's lesson is. Lesson 126. What I give to myself. I call that the law of love, the law of God, the law of mind, because you can only really give to yourself. Notice one of the last lessons in part 1 of the workbook, lesson 197, it says, it can be only my own gratitude I earn. It can be my own gratitude I earn. It doesn't matter about what you think another person, did, whatever it is. It's the giving you're giving to yourself. If you're giving something like peace, light, love, joy, you're giving it to yourself. If you are giving a lamp and you find it in the garage, like, so what?
Anybody else have any thoughts about that? This is really a huge law. Like the giving and receiving are the same thing that Jesus emphasizes to us over and over and over, and gives it to us in different ways so that we can look at it and really get to understand this. Because, he said a while back, or in one of the other sections, maybe our reading lately, that the real problem that we have is that we believe that we are in lack, that we haven't been given everything, and so we're trying to bargain with God and hold on to things. So this idea of giving, it has to be without any kind of judgment or requirement, just unconditional giving, or else you're not giving it at all. You're just using it to manipulate.
Notice the first of the 3 lessons of the Holy Spirit: to have, give all to all. If you withhold anything, you're only withholding from yourself. If you're withholding light, peace, love, joy, you've separated yourself from yourself.
So please have your ice cream, Lynn, and enjoy it.
Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts about that paragraph? We have one more paragraph in this section, so we'll go ahead and read that. Would anybody like to read paragraph 4?
I'll read if nobody else wants to read.
Please do.
It is the relinquishing of all concern about the gift that makes it truly given, and it is trust that makes true giving possible. Healing is the change of mind that the Holy Spirit in the patient's mind is seeking for him. And it is the Holy Spirit in the mind of the giver who gives the gift to him. How can it be lost? How can it be ineffectual? How can it be wasted? God's treasure house can never be empty. And if one gift is missing, it would not be full. Yet is its fullness guaranteed by God? What concern, then, can a teacher of God have about what becomes of his gifts? Given by God to God, who in this holy exchange can receive less than everything. That's beautiful. That basically saying, once again, when we give, we receive. So give everything, because
Yes.
you're just
Yes.
getting it all back. And nothing, it can't be lost when we're giving true gifts.
To have, give all to all.
Beautiful.
And I love that it's given by God to God. And so it's all the same. And that's what you and I and all of us, we're just recycling God's love. There's no loss.
Yeah. I always keep in mind, or I try to keep in mind, that the mind of God is abstract. So abstraction or an abstract mind is always sharing. So it's always sharing what it is. It gives all of what it is to itself. It's abstract. In our separated mind, the mind that has an ego running it, everything is about, well, if I give this, then I'm going to have less than. So in the mind of division, separation, inequality, things that are illusions, basically, it seems very difficult to understand this. But of the three lessons of the Holy Spirit, chapter 6, section 5, A, B, and C, the A is to have, give all to all. I mean, and he says this one lesson reverses all the laws of this world. This one lesson, chapter 6, section 5A, to have, give all to all, reverses every law of this world. Because the laws of this world is, if I give, I'll have less.
Yeah, and that only happens because I think I am an individual.
Yeah.
And I don't see that I am a part
Exactly.
of all of this.
Yeah.
That's I said. I posted something on Facebook today. Go ahead. I was saying I posted something on Facebook today from Buckminster Fuller, something I read when I was a kid, and he was a great engineer, architect, philosopher. He invented the geodesic dome, if you don't know who that is. But he was saying that there is enough, which I know is true, there is enough in this world for every man, woman, and child to have everything that they need. Enough food, enough everything. And the reason that they don't have it is because we use our resources for weaponry instead of survival or for people to live. And you know, I think that that's absolutely true. There's no lack in this world. There is no lack anywhere in this world. There's plenty, plenty, plenty. It's just not being shared. It's being hoarded and kept, and you know, billionaires have it, you know, hidden somewhere, and you know, it's like having a big silo of grain and having people around you starving because they don't have bread. You know, it just it doesn't even make sense. And if we were in a position or a thought where everything we had came from God and went to God, and that was we are is just a vessel, a pass through, then we would always have everything, because we do always have everything. Any other thoughts anybody have?
Yeah, regarding what Dove had saying about to have all, give all, I feel because in this illusion, it's all material things that, so if we give someone a chair, we're short one chair, but the only actual true gifts are love and joy and peace. And when we give those, they're multiplied. And so if we're looking at true gifts as opposed to the gifts of the illusion, which are meaningless, then that, I think, is what this is pointing to as well. That true gifts can only be multiplied because you can't run out of love. Thank you.
Absolutely true. Any other thoughts? Yeah, I think it's lovely that he's equating through this healing and giving and healing. I think it's really important to know that those things come together. And, we are healers. That's what we're all here for, to heal ourselves and our brothers, return our minds to God. Anybody else have any thoughts or feelings before we end? Feelings, yeah, feelings. All right, well, thank you all for coming in tonight. Just want to remind everyone who's listening on the radio, especially, or in Gather, ACIM Gather, we are part of the One Mind Foundation, and we exist and work through donations because we don't sell anything or have any other thing. So if you want to help us out, you can always go to paypal.me/onemind18 or onemindfoundation.org, and any donations are shared between Dove and myself for the work that we do with the radio and the One Mind Foundation. And we are always there on ACIM Gather for A Course in Miracles 24/7. Go to acimgather.us and look at our schedule, listen to us on the radio, and join us. Thanks, you guys, everyone. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, everyone. Namaste.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take off the share. Let's see, stop the share so we can see each other. There we go. All right, you guys.
Very
Love you
good.
all.
Thank you. Love
See you all
too.
Bye
next
now. Thank you
Good
all.
night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.
Show